In every world, billions of chunks are generated within a matter of minutes to create the fundamentals of Minecraft. But what happens if you're constricted to just one? Well, in this video, me and 10 complete strangers were assembled to create a civilization in the span of a singular hour. Now, if that wasn't already challenging enough, the border shrinks at any moment without warning. This is Minecraft's one chunk civilization. I wasn't sure what I wanted to achieve during this time, but I was aware of the fact I needed to gain a sufficient supply of wood. Otherwise, the only thing I could do was collect dirt. As I immediately sped towards the only tree available, I was greeted by another player possessing the same idea. So in this moment, I had to make a split decision to discuss or fight. However, violence is always the right option. During this battle, we both hit each other several times using our amazing PvP skills, leaving me to walk away with an entire 4 pieces of wood. But unfortunately, I still had no clue what my goal should be. So to fill in time, I collected as many blocks as possible until I noticed someone mining. And just like that, I instantly knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to make it to the Nether. Still, with only one chunk available, it was a gamble of whether there was any lava at all. But with no way to fact check, I just had to take the risk. Before jumping into my plan, it was important that I had the right equipment, such as a pickaxe. That's when I remembered there were other people here, so I asked around if I could borrow someone's crafting table to save resources. Surprisingly, I was actually given one, which I stole all for myself. After crafting, I had just begun my mining trip when someone made a request for seeds. Upon further inspection, I had plenty to spare, but there was no way I was just going to give them away, so I wanted to know what was up for offer. A short conversation later revealed that they weren't willing to give up anything of value, so I just ignored their request. About 2 minutes later, that same person approached me with a malicious look, took out their fist just to kill and rob me. Honestly, it was very rude and I was offended. Therefore, I demanded my stuff to be returned at an instance. And out of pure terror and fear, all of my stuff was safely returned back to me, except for the seeds. A short while later, I decided to eavesdrop on another conversation where I learnt 2 strangers branched off from the group to create a nation called the Sky People. And on the rare occasion, they'll drop random things such as cows and blocks. And instead of just questioning it, the others just willingly accept their gifts. While on my adventure, I realised I didn't have any wood, meaning I could not smelt it for torches. This meant I needed to propose a trade. I vowed that I would give them 4 planks for a piece of wood. They agreed and I got my items without needing to give them back anything in return. And to be honest, that was rather surprising considering how much I've already stolen from the group. But regardless of that fact, I made my torches and continued mining without a guilty conscience. The first thing I found was a small water-filled cave containing glow squids, and although I searched the area, the only ore I could find was copper. Therefore, I ignored the whole cave. Not too many minutes later, I discovered some coal with iron hiding behind it, and because of my wealth, I made an offer to trade my iron for anything. Although the offers were what I expected, I declined everyone's trades as they had nothing worthwhile. After this, my progress became very slow, not because of my lack of ores, but because I kept continuously dying. Now I know what you're thinking, how could you die in a mining tunnel? Well, it just so happened that I found a cave filled to the brim with skeletons that seemed like they were spawning out of thin air, so I suspect it was the work of a skeleton spawner, but it's just a theory as I had no evidence. When I reclaimed my stuff, I eventually made it to Deep Slate where there was still no sign of lava. I continued my quest when I dug right into a mob-filled cave, causing me to die with lack of health, not once, but twice. However, the second time I respawned, I landed on the Sky People's platform. Since I was there, I had the opportunity to do all kinds of malicious things like stealing or griefing, but I realized my stuff would despawn if I wasn't fast, so I hurried back to the cave and made it just in time. As I continued mining, I made it to bedrock, meaning my entire plan of making it into the Nether failed. I had no goal, no hope, so just collected resources. In the midst of my sadness, I got scammed. Someone made a deal to trade coal for iron, which I agreed to. I gave the coal and waited. A few minutes had passed, but I never received the iron. Now I could have located and chased after them, however, that would have been a lot of effort, especially because my pickaxe is broke. With no choice left, I made my way up to the surface where I learnt many changes occurred since I last saw it. For example, it actually looked like a civilization. Now since I didn't really want to contribute anything, I started building a staircase high into the sky for absolutely no reason. However, during the construction, I found out the border shrunk an entire block. And me being stupid, decided to continue my staircase, not realizing that the border would obviously shrink again. Only panicking slightly, I did the most logical thing I could think of doing, building a platform in the air that completely dominates the Sky People, and once I felt it was big enough, I jumped off the edge and safely landed in water. Whilst walking around the town, I noticed a boat on the outside of the chunk, giving me an idea on how I could potentially escape this prison in just a few steps. 1. Hop into a boat. 2. Continuously paddle. 3. Wait for the border to shrink. And 4. Escape. My first attempt unfortunately was a failure, as I stopped paddling when the border shrank. My second attempt was a success, but I may have accidentally walked back in. But on my third attempt, I did it extremely well and made it safely outside the border. Except the thing is, I learned I could only go a few blocks before I started taking damage. However, no one knew of this factor, so I did the most logical thing and taunted them for being stuck inside. A few seconds later, I saw another person on the outside of the border, and I was a little concerned, but to my shock, they joined me in taunting the others. Through our teasing, we learned that we could hit them and take the items from the chest, but they could not do the same to us. This made the others angry with the desire to escape, but none of their methods worked. It turns out it didn't really matter that they couldn't escape, as a server owner made an appearance. I was a little nervous because he could put me back in the border if he wanted to, however, he just added lava to kill the remaining people inside. Later on, as I was trying to climb up the tower with my water, it suddenly glitched, making me unable to place any blocks. And I have no idea how it happened, but I was suddenly trapped inside the 1-block border. This meant everyone was put into an infinite loop of death by lava. But if there's one thing you should learn from this, don't work together when trying to build a civilization, be your own country. And if you did enjoy, subscribing would really help me out a lot.